So today in part 5 of my faith journey series, I'm going to be discussing my experiences with spirituality in my late 20s and early 30s, which is pretty much just to this point now today. So initially there at the beginning of this stage, I had just gone through my divorce at age 27. And I sort of had an abrupt shift at that point with my spirituality. So I stopped attending church almost immediately, as soon as we separated. That space felt very much to me like it belonged to my ex-husband. It was, he was the one who was continuing with, his religious beliefs. Our church family to me felt really like it didn't belong to me at that point, so I just fully stepped away and suddenly found myself with a lot of free time on my hands. As I shared in the last video, I had been participating in the worship band for quite some time, so I was used to having practices on Wednesday evening after work and Sunday morning, and then services on Sunday and our small group on Thursday nights. So suddenly I had all this time on my hands and I didn't really know what to do with it at first. I didn't really know how I wanted to spend all this free time. Obviously I was going through a very emotional period of my life, with our separation and divorce. But I didn't really feel like I had a place where I could go, to express my spirituality. So I was sort of starting from scratch in that way. And at some point I decided to just dive headfirst in my spirituality, and it had been suppressed, for a very long time. It was something that I always felt drawn to and called to, but I had limited time and resources to really do anything about it until that point. So once I started taking steps in that direction, I started experiencing this rapid expansion. And I met with many healers. I started doing Reiki healing. I started really leaning in with my self-study, especially through YouTube. That's pretty much how I got started, learning, everything that I wanted to learn about, and really diving into those esoteric and spiritual beliefs, learning more about crystals and tarot cards, oracle cards, channeling, different forms of energy healing, remote healing. All of that just sort of exploded for me because I suddenly had the time and the freedom to explore them, as much as I wanted to. And the summer after my divorce is when I decided to really go all in on my dream and start my business. So all of that study that I've been doing on, crystals and healing and oracle cards and channeling, all of that suddenly became a much bigger part of my life than it had ever been before. And I experienced a lot of joy, getting to really express myself in that way. And I just never really felt like I could before, due to my circumstances. And so that was a very freeing time in my life. And once I began my business, I really made a more serious commitment to my spiritual path and decided that I was going to strive for my highest potential, no matter what that meant. And I had no idea at the time what that would look like. And I'm really blessed, to still be here, after 3 years, despite all of the obstacles, despite how difficult it is to have any startup, regardless of the fact that it's, a spiritual business in a place where I feel like it's more challenging. There are a lot of people who don't really understand what it is that I do here in my area. So I have to do a lot of education, and I'm happy to do that, but it's just not something that people inherently know a lot about. So I feel like I've had a unique set of challenges and obstacles, and honestly I'm really grateful for that. I feel like it's made me very strong in my convictions, and it's forced me to be incredibly confident about what it is that I do. And I've just gotten really good at explaining things over the years, so I'm grateful for that opportunity. And I'm also just very grateful and determined to have this opportunity to share what I've learned along my path with others who are, seeking all the things that I've been seeking, for these past several years. And this whole journey has really taught me to completely surrender control over outcomes, over the way that things feel on a day-to-day basis. I've just had to allow myself to step into the highs and the lows, and try to remain constant and centered in my own energy. And it's also kind of pushed me into seeking this present moment and genuine connection with others, and stepping fully into my power regardless of my fears, that are ever present for all of us. So it's been a wonderful growth opportunity for me to step more into who I am, and just be honest with myself and the world about what it is that I want to do, and where I want my life to go in a broader sense, and that sense of freedom, and just the ability to really truly be my authentic self regardless of what anybody else thinks or how they feel about it, and not in a mean way, but just in a way that I get to be who I am, you get to be who you are, and I am very accepting of everybody regardless of where they are in their journey. And I couldn't really get to that point until I fully accepted myself. And I think that's what this entire journey, this entire series has really been about, is learning who I am, accepting who I am, and learning how to celebrate who I am, regardless of whether I fit in with, the general vibe in society or not. So that's my encouragement, and my challenge to you is, to use your circumstances to step fully into your authenticity, and just be accepting and happy with who it is that you are, because you deserve that just as much as anybody else. So that is my tale, and if you watched all the parts, I greatly appreciate that. I'm so glad that you're here, and if you're interested in more content about spirituality and everything that I've learned and found on this path, stay tuned for more.